The greenhouse smelled like earth. Jiho moved between the rows of tomato plants with careful hands, checking each leaf for signs of disease. The artificial sunlight warmed his shoulders as he worked. This was his favorite time of day, when the colony was just waking up and he had the gardens to himself. "You talk to them," a voice said from the doorway. Jiho turned and smiled. Nira stood there, her blue-green scales catching the light. She was beautiful in a way that still made his heart skip. "They grow better when you do," Jiho said. He gestured for her to come closer. "Want to help me with the strawberries?" Nira walked over, her movements graceful despite her tall frame. The Vakrin were reptilian but warm-blooded like humans. She had tried to explain the biology once, but Jiho just liked the way she felt when they held hands. "My mother sent another message," Nira said quietly. She knelt beside him, her clawed fingers gentle as she touched a strawberry plant. "Still angry?" Jiho asked. "She says I am forgetting my people, that humans are too different." Nira's voice was sad. "She will not come to the wedding." Jiho set down his tools and took both her hands. "I'm sorry. I know family matters to you." "You matter more," Nira said. She looked into his eyes. "Is that wrong?" "No," Jiho said. He kissed her forehead right where her scales were softest. "Love is never wrong." They worked together in comfortable silence for a while. Jiho showed her how to remove the dead leaves without hurting the plants. He liked teaching her about earth things. She taught him about Vakrin poetry and music. They were building a life together piece by piece. "Your sister stopped by yesterday," Nira said. "Dayun wanted to know if we had decided on the ceremony date." "Next month," Jiho said. "When both moons are full. That is lucky for both our peoples, right?" "Yes," Nira said, and her smile showed her sharp teeth. Jiho had learned that this meant she was happy. "I have been practicing the human vows. They are beautiful." Later that morning, Jiho delivered fresh vegetables to the colony market. New Haven was small, only about 3,000 people. Half were human, the rest were Vakrin or other species. Everyone knew everyone. It was the kind of place where you could leave your door unlocked and children played in the streets without fear. "Jiho," Hyun called out. His old friend was sitting at an outdoor cafe, reviewing reports on a data tablet. "Come sit. You work too hard." Jiho sat down and accepted a cup of coffee. Hyun ran the colony's administration, which meant he worried about everything from water recycling to trade agreements. They had grown up together on Earth, in the crowded cities of the Korean sector. Both had wanted something different, something peaceful. They had found it here. "The wedding invitations look good," Hyun said. "Half the colony is coming." "Nira is nervous," Jiho admitted. "She wants everything to be perfect." "It will be," Hyun said. Then his expression changed, became more serious. "You never told her, did you? About before?" Jiho's hand tightened on his cup. "No. She should know," Hyun said gently. "That part of your life is over," Jiho interrupted. "I left that behind. I am a gardener now. That is all she needs to know." Hyun looked like he wanted to argue, but he just nodded. "Okay, friend. But secrets have a way of coming out." Jiho changed the subject, asking about the new trade route with the inner colonies. They talked until Jiho had to get back to work. The days passed quickly. Jiho worked in his gardens, spent evenings with Nira, and helped prepare for the wedding. Sometimes he caught sight of the scars on his arms and chest when he showered, old wounds from another life. He told Nira they were from farming accidents, from machinery and tools. She never questioned it. Dayun came to dinner one night. Jiho's sister was a doctor, always busy at the medical center. She loved Nira and kept telling Jiho how lucky he was. "I am lucky," Jiho agreed. They were eating Korean food that Jiho had cooked, and Nira was trying to use chopsticks. She kept dropping the noodles, and they all laughed. "I cannot do it," Nira said, frustrated but smiling. "You are doing great," Dune encouraged. Jiho could not use eating claws when he tried Vakrin food. They talked about the wedding, about the future. Nira wanted children eventually, though human Vakrin hybrids were rare and difficult. Dayun said the medical technology was getting better. There was hope. After dinner, Jiho and Nira walked home under the stars. 2 moons hung in the sky, one silver and one pale blue. The night was warm and somewhere music was playing. "I love this place," Nira said. "I love this life." "Me too," Jiho said. He put his arm around her waist. "I never thought I would be this happy." "You had a hard life before?" Nira asked. She had asked before, but Jiho never gave details. "Yes," he said simply, "but that is done now." This is what matters. You, me, our home. They reached their small house at the edge of the colony. Jiho had built a garden around it, filled with flowers from Earth and plants from Nira's homeworld. It was their own little paradise. That night, Jiho held Nira as she slept. He listened to her breathing, felt the warmth of her body against his. He had fought so hard to find peace. He had seen terrible things, done terrible things. But here, in this quiet colony on the edge of known space, he had found redemption. He did not know it would not last. The next morning, Hyun called an emergency council meeting. Jiho did not usually attend these, but Hyun specifically asked him to come. When he arrived at the administration building, he saw worry on everyone's faces. Long-range sensors picked up something last night, Hyun said. He brought up a holographic display. Here at the edge of the system, Jiho looked at the readings. His blood went cold. Those were warship signatures. Big ones. Could be traitors, someone suggested. No, Jiho said quietly. Everyone looked at him. Those are military vessels. Capital class. How can you tell? Hyun asked, though his expression said he already knew the answer. Jiho stared at the display. Old instincts were waking up inside him, instincts he had tried to bury. Because I have seen them before. The room went silent. In that moment, Jiho knew his peaceful life was ending. Something was coming. Something that would force him to become what he had tried so hard to stop being. He thought of Nira, of their wedding next month, of the garden waiting at home. He thought of all the quiet, gentle people in this colony who had never known war, and Jiho knew with terrible certainty that he would do anything to protect them, even if it meant becoming a monster again. The warships came out of hyperspace like falling stars. Jiho was in the garden when the sirens started. He looked up and saw them, massive dark shapes against the morning sky. 5 capital ships, dozens of smaller attack craft. His hands, covered in soil from planting, started to shake. Nira ran out of the house. Jiho, what is happening? Get to the shelter, he said. His voice sounded different even to himself. Harder, colder. What? Now, Nira, please. He looked at her and she stepped back. Something in his eyes frightened her. He could see it. The communication came through on every device in the colony. A harsh voice translated by computers. This is Commander Rask of the Krovat Dominion. You have 1 hour to surrender completely. Resist and you will be eliminated. You are now property of the Dominion. People were running in the streets, children crying. Jiho stood still, his mind already working. 1 hour, 5 capital ships. The colony had 3 patrol boats with light weapons. Mining lasers. Personal arms. It was nothing. They were going to die. Unless Jiho ran to the administration building. Hyun was there with the colony defense coordinator, a man named Minho. They were arguing about evacuation. There is nowhere to go, Minho was saying. We cannot outrun them. Then we surrender, someone else said. Maybe they will let us live. No, Jiho said. Everyone turned to look at him. They will not. How do you know? A council member demanded. Because the Krovath do not take prisoners, Jiho said. They take slaves, and they kill anyone who might resist later. He walked to the holographic display and started pulling up the colony's defense grid. How many people know how to use mining equipment? What does that matter? Hyun asked. Jiho did not answer. He was looking at the orbital mining platforms, the explosive charges used for breaking asteroids, the industrial cutters and haulers. His mind was putting together a plan, a terrible plan that might buy them time. Jiho, Minho said slowly. Who are you? Jiho met his eyes. I am someone who knows how to fight them. But you need to trust me and you need to do exactly what I say. Minho stared at him for a long moment. Then he pulled up a classified file on his console. Hyun gave me access to this. Said I might need it. He turned the screen. Earth Defense Force Tactical Specialist. Survived the Siege of Titan, unit designation, Ghost. The room went silent. You were a soldier, someone whispered. I was, Jiho said, and I left because I never wanted to be one again. He looked around at all of them. But they are not giving us a choice. Hyun stood up. What do you need? Jiho started giving orders. Within 20 minutes, teams were moving to the mining platforms. Others were evacuating civilians to the deep shelters. Jiho reprogrammed the mining explosives, turning them into orbital mines. It was crude, but it would work. Nira found him at the Defense Control Center. Jiho, they said you were a soldier. That you fought in a war. He did not look at her. He was tracking the Krovath ships, calculating approach vectors. Yes. Why did you not tell me? Because I wanted to forget. His hands moved across the controls. Because I did not want you to see what I really am. What are you? She asked quietly. Before he could answer, the first Krovath landing craft entered the atmosphere. Jiho triggered the mines. 2 craft exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Debris rained down. The other craft scattered, their formation broken. I am what we need right now, Jiho said. The Krovath responded with orbital bombardment. The northern section of the colony disappeared in fire. Jiho watched the sensors, his face expressionless. 300 people had been in that section. Now they were gone. Monsters, Nira breathed. Yes, Jiho said. And to beat monsters, sometimes you need a monster. Over the next 6 hours, Jiho coordinated the defense. He used the mining lasers to shoot down 3 more landing craft. He had teams collapse tunnels on Krovath ground forces. He turned the colony's chemical plant into a weapon, releasing toxic gas that killed 24 enemy soldiers. Every tactic was brutal, efficient, designed to cause maximum damage with minimum resources. This was what Jiho had been trained for. Asymmetric warfare, fighting when you were outnumbered and outgunned. Dion came to him covered in blood. We are running out of medical supplies. The wounded prioritize those who can fight, Jiho said. What? Dion looked shocked. Jiho, these are civilians, children. I know. His voice cracked slightly. But if we do not stop them, everyone dies. Not just the wounded. Dion left, angry and hurt. Jiho wanted to call her back to explain, but there was no time. The Krovath were regrouping for a major push. That night, Jiho stood on the remains of the colony wall. Fires burned in the distance. The Krovath had landed thousands of soldiers. They would attack at dawn. The colony had maybe 200 people who could fight. They would be overrun in hours. Nira climbed up beside him. She had dirt and blood on her scales. She had been helping evacuate the wounded. You are planning something, she said. Something dangerous. Yes. What happened on Titan? She asked. At the siege? Jiho was quiet for a long time. My unit was ordered to hold a supply depot. 300 soldiers. We were told reinforcements would come in 3 days. He stared at the burning horizon. They took 3 weeks. The enemy hit us with everything. Thousands of them. I held. Because I could not let them break through. How many survived? 12, Jiho said. Out of 300. And all of them were broken. They called me the ghost of Titan because I moved through the enemy at night. Killing, always killing. He finally looked at her. I had to become something less than human to survive. And when I finally got home, I could not remember how to be anything else. Nira touched his face gently. But you learned. You became Jiho the gardener. You became my husband. And now I am forgetting again, he said. Every order I give, every person I sacrifice, I feel it slipping away. The peaceful man I tried to be. Then I will remember for you, Nira said. When this is over, I will remind you who you are. Jiho pulled her close. They stood there in the darkness, holding each other while the world burned around them. The next morning, the Krovath attacked in force. Jiho led the defense from the front lines now. He moved through the ruins with a rifle, taking shots with perfect precision. He had taught some of the colonists basic combat, but most were terrified and slow. A young man named Borum followed Jiho everywhere. Teach me, he kept saying. Teach me to fight like you. You do not want to fight like me, Jiho said. They held the water plant for 3 hours before falling back. Jiho rigged it to explode, taking 50 Krovath soldiers with it. He felt nothing watching them die. That was the worst part, the emptiness. By evening, they had retreated to the central district. Half their fighters were dead or wounded. Ammunition was running out. Jiho sat in the command center looking at the maps. They could hold maybe 1 more day. Then it would be over, unless he did the impossible. Jiho pulled up the schematics for the colony's mining hauler. It was a massive ship designed to push asteroids, strong enough to break through orbital shields if piloted correctly. We can ram their command ship, he said to Minho. That is suicide. Yes, Jiho agreed, but it would cripple their fleet. Give time for a distress signal to reach Earth fleet. How long to reach us? Maybe a week, Minho laughed bitterly. We do not have a week. Then we make time, Jiho said. He stood up. I need volunteers. When Nira heard the plan, she refused to let him go alone. They argued for an hour. You will need someone who knows Crovath systems, she insisted. I studied their language, their technology. I can help, Jiho wanted to refuse. But she was right. And deep down, he did not want to die alone. Okay, he finally said. But you stay on the shuttle. When I give the signal, you launch without me. We will see, Nira said. And Jiho knew she would not obey that order. They prepared through the night. Tomorrow they would attempt the impossible. Jiho looked at his hands in the darkness. They had held tools and plants. Now they held weapons again. He wondered if they would ever be clean. The mining hauler shook as it lifted off. Jiho sat in the pilot seat, his hands steady on the controls. Nira was beside him, monitoring the Crovath fleet positions. Behind them, the colony created diversions, drawing enemy attention away from their launch. 3 fighters breaking formation, Nira said. Coming toward us, Jiho did not respond. He pushed the hauler's engines to maximum, the old ship groaning under the strain. They were not built for speed, but he knew how to get every bit of power from them. The first fighter got a lock on them. Jiho rolled the massive hauler, something it was never designed to do. Metal screamed. Warning alarms blared, but the missiles passed by. How did you do that? Nira asked, amazed. Practice, Jiho said grimly. Bad practice. He had done this before on Titan, flying ships that were falling apart, dodging enemy fire with nothing but instinct and luck. He had hoped to never do it again. The second fighter came in close. Too close. Jiho killed the main engines and fired the maneuvering thrusters. The hauler spun and its mining arm smashed into the fighter. Both ships tumbled through space. Shields at 30%, Nira reported. We cannot take much more. We do not need much more, Jiho said. The Crovath command ship filled their view now, a massive wedge of dark metal. Its shields shimmered. Get ready. He activated the mining drill on the front of the hauler. It was designed to pierce asteroid rock. Jiho was betting it could pierce shields too. They hit the barrier at full speed. The shield held for 3 seconds. Then the drill punched through. The hauler crashed into the hangar bay with the force of a meteor. Everything went dark. When Jiho woke up, alarms were screaming. Nira was pulling him out of his seat. His head was bleeding and his left arm felt broken. The hauler was a wreck, torn apart by the impact. Can you walk? Nira asked. Jiho nodded. He grabbed his rifle with his good arm. They stumbled out into the hangar. Crovath soldiers were already responding, but they were confused, disorganized. No one expected an attack like this. Jiho shot 3 of them before they realized what was happening. His accuracy was perfect, even with one arm. Years of training made it automatic. This way, Nira said. She was reading the Crovath symbols on the walls. The bridge is up 3 levels. They moved through the corridors. Jiho killed anyone they met. He did not hesitate, did not think. This was what he had been on Titan. A weapon with a human face. At one intersection, they found a group of prisoners. Humans from another colony, chained and beaten. Jiho shot their guards and broke the locks. Get to the hangar, he told them. Find a shuttle and run. Who are you? One of them asked. No one, Jiho said. Just go. They kept moving. Jiho's arm was getting worse and he was leaving a trail of blood. But they were close now. He could feel it. Commander Rask was waiting on the bridge. The Crovath leader was massive, twice the size of a human with armored scales and cruel eyes. His guards raised weapons. Stop, Rask commanded. He studied Jiho with interest. You are the one who destroyed my landing craft. Who killed my soldiers with farming tools and chemicals. Yes, Jiho said. Impressive, Rask admitted. For a human. Your people pretend to be peaceful, but underneath you are predators. Just like us. No, Jiho said. We are nothing like you, Rask laughed. Really, look at yourself. Covered in blood. You have killed dozens today. How is that peaceful? Jiho was silent. The Crovath was right in a way. He had become exactly what he hated. We understand each other, Rask continued. The strong survive. The weak serve or die. This is nature. You are wrong, Nira said. Everyone looked at her. She stepped forward, her voice strong. Humans are not predators pretending to be peaceful. They are peaceful people who can become predators when they must. That is different. How? Rask demanded. Because they choose, Nira said. Jiho did not want this. He wanted to grow plants and watch sunsets. But you forced him to become something else. Something terrible. Not because he enjoys it, but because people need him to protect them. That makes him weak, Rask said. No, Jiho said quietly. It makes me human. He raised his rifle. The guards opened fire. Jiho dove behind a console, pulling Nira with him. His wounded arm screamed in pain. We cannot win this fight, Nira said. I know, Jiho said. He pulled out a small device from his pocket. But we do not need to. It was a bomb. He had made it from mining explosives before they left, strong enough to crack the bridge open like an egg. The reactor is below us, Jiho said. This explosion will start a chain reaction. The whole ship will go. We will die too, Nira said. Yes. She looked at him. Then she kissed him hard and desperate. I love you. The gardener and the soldier. All of you. I love you too, Jiho said. Before he could activate the bomb, the far wall exploded. Earth Defense Force soldiers poured through, their weapons firing. One of them, a man with familiar movements, fought toward Jiho's position. Jiho? The man shouted. Jiho, is that you? Jiho stared.
Taeyang?
His old squad mate, one of the 12 who survived Titan. Jiho had thought he was dead. Earth Fleet got your distress signal, Taeyang yelled over the weapons fire. We jumped in system an hour ago. Recognized your tactics planetside. He grabbed Jiho's good arm. We need to move now. The reactor, Jiho started. Already being handled, Taeyang said. Come on, Ghost, time to go home. They ran. Taeyang's squad covered them, fighting through the Krovath guards. More Earth soldiers were flooding the ship. The Krovath were retreating, overwhelmed. They reached a boarding shuttle just as the ship's reactor went critical. Not from Jiho's bomb, but from Earth Fleet's precision strikes. The shuttle launched, and they watched the command ship tear itself apart in a chain of explosions. The rest of the Krovath fleet jumped to hyperspace, retreating. The battle was over. Jiho collapsed in the shuttle. Medics surrounded him, working on his injuries. He could hear Nira talking to them, her voice worried but steady. Will he live? She asked. Yes, someone answered. He is tough. Jiho closed his eyes. They had won. The colony was safe. Earth Fleet was here. It was over. But as consciousness faded, he wondered who he was now. The peaceful gardener was gone. The soldier had returned. Could he ever find his way back? He felt Nira's hand in his. Her scales were warm, familiar. She was his anchor. Maybe she could guide him home. When he woke up, he was in the colony medical center. Daeun was there, checking his bandages. His arm was in a cast and everything hurt. You are awake, she said. Good, Nira will want to know. How long? Jiho asked. 2 days, Daeun said. She looked tired. The Earth Fleet is helping with repairs. We lost 400 people, but 3,000 survived, she paused. Because of you. Jiho said nothing. 400 dead. He had failed them. Stop that, Daeun said firmly. I can see what you're thinking. You saved us, Jiho. You did what no one else could. I became a killer again, Jiho said. You became what we needed, Daeun said. She touched his hand gently. And now you can rest. Let others carry the burden for a while. Nira came in then. She ran to him, careful not to hurt his injuries. They held each other, not speaking. Words were not needed. Later, Taeyang visited. They talked about Titan, about the 12 who survived, about the years after. Taeyang had stayed in the military. He said someone had to. I thought you were dead, Jiho said. I thought you were hiding, Taeyang replied. Running from what we were. I was, Jiho admitted. Did you find what you were looking for? Taeyang asked. Peace? Jiho looked at Nira, who was sleeping in a chair beside his bed. Yes, for a little while. That is more than most of us get, Taeyang said.
The Admiral wants to give you a medal.
Probably promote you. I do not want it, Jiho said. I know, Taeyang said, but you are a hero now. The news services are calling you the Gardener of New Haven, the man who saved a colony with farming equipment and mining tools. I am not a hero, Jiho said. Maybe not, Taeyang agreed. But you are a legend, and legends do not get to choose how people remember them. He left Jiho alone with his thoughts. Outside, the colony was rebuilding. Earth fleet ships hung in orbit, protecting them. The danger was past, but Jiho knew the real battle was just beginning. The battle to find himself again, to remember who he wanted to be. He looked at his hands. They had held weapons and taken lives. Could they hold a plant gently again? Could they create instead of destroy? He did not know, but with Nira beside him, he would try. The nightmares came every night. Jiho would wake up screaming, seeing the faces of everyone he had killed. Sometimes they were Krovath soldiers, Sometimes they were the colonists he had failed to save. Always Nira was there. She would hold him until the shaking stopped, whispering that he was safe, that it was over. But it was not over. Not really. 3 weeks after the battle, Admiral Kento arrived with a full ceremony ship. He wanted to give Jiho the Star of Valor, Earth's highest military honor. Half the colony gathered to watch. Jiho stood in his dress uniform, borrowed because he owned nothing military anymore. The Admiral was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen too many wars. For exceptional bravery in the defense of New Haven Colony, the Admiral read from a prepared statement. For tactical brilliance against overwhelming odds. For saving 3,000 lives through personal sacrifice and courage. The medal was heavy when they pinned it to his chest. Everyone applauded. Jiho felt nothing. Afterward, the Admiral asked to speak privately. They walked through the remains of the northern district where the first bombardment had hit. Workers were clearing rubble, building new foundations. I read the reports, Admiral Kento said. You used mining equipment as weapons, turned fertilizer into explosives, created gas attacks from chemical supplies. He paused. It was brilliant and terrible. Yes, Jiho said. The military needs people who can think like you, the Admiral continued. I am offering you a commission. Captain rank. Your own tactical command. No, Jiho said immediately. You do not want to serve? I want to grow plants, Jiho said. I want to marry the woman I love. I want to forget how to kill people. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. You cannot forget. Trust me, I have tried. Then I want to try anyway, Jiho said. The Admiral nodded slowly. I understand. But know that the offer stands. If you ever change your mind. He started to leave, then turned back. The Crovath are not done. They will attack other colonies. More people will die. Then train better soldiers, Jiho said. Make better defenses. But leave me out of it. After the Admiral left, Jiho went to find Nira. She was at the temporary school, teaching Vakran language to human children. She smiled when she saw him, and for a moment everything felt normal. How did it go? She asked. They want me to be a soldier again, Jiho said. I said no. Good, Nira said. She took his hand. You have given enough, but Jiho wondered if he had. 400 people died because he was not fast enough, not smart enough. Could he live with that? Could he sleep knowing other colonies might face the same thing? The news services made it worse. They interviewed survivors, showed footage of the battle, called Jiho a hero. Someone even wrote a song about the gardener who became a warrior. It was embarrassing and painful. Boram, the young man who had followed Jiho during the fighting, came to him one day. He had others with him, about 20 colonists. We want you to train us, Boram said, properly. So if they come back, we can fight. Jiho wanted to refuse, but he looked at their faces, determined and scared. They had seen what happened when you were unprepared. Okay, he said, but we do this right. No playing soldier. Real training. He spent his mornings in the garden and his afternoons teaching combat. It was strange trying to be two different people. The gentle farmer and the hard instructor. Sometimes he did not know which one was real anymore. Nira watched him struggle. One evening she sat him down in their half-rebuilt home. You are pulling apart, she said. Trying to be the old Jiho, but you cannot forget the soldier. I do not know how to be both, Jiho admitted. Then do not try, Nira said. Be one person. Someone who knows how to fight but chooses peace. Someone who can protect what he loves without losing himself. How? Jiho asked. By accepting that the soldier is part of you, Nira said. Not all of you, just part. Like how I am Vakran and a teacher and your wife. All these things together. It sounded simple. It was not simple. But Jiho tried. He planted his gardens and taught his classes. He had nightmares and learned to live with them. Slowly, day by day, he found a balance. Then the second attack came. It was smaller this time. Just 2 Crovath ships hitting a mining station at the edge of the system. Earth Fleet responded, but not before 50 miners were killed. The news hit the colony hard. Everyone remembered their own attack, their own losses. Fear spread like a disease. Minho called a meeting. We need better defenses. Earth Fleet cannot be everywhere. We need our own fleet, someone suggested. That takes years to build, Hyun pointed out. And money we do not have. Jiho sat in the back, saying nothing. He had retired from all this. It was not his problem anymore. But that night he could not sleep. He kept thinking about those 50 miners. about their families, about how they died because no one was there to protect them. You want to go, Nira said. She was awake too, watching him. No, Jiho said. I want to stay here with you. But you need to go, she said. To teach others how to survive, how to fight back. If I go, I might not come back, Jiho said. Not the same person. You will, Nira said. Because I will be waiting. And because you are stronger than you think. The next morning, Jiho went to the communication center. He sent a message to Admiral Kento, not accepting the commission but offering something else. I will train your tactical officers, the message said. Teach them what I know about asymmetric warfare, about defending colonies with limited resources. 6 months. Then I come home. The Admiral's response came within an hour. Agreed, we need you. Jiho spent the next week preparing. He wrote down everything he knew about defensive tactics, about using civilian equipment as weapons, about psychology and strategy. He recorded training videos. He made lists of supplies every colony should stockpile. The day before he left, Jiho and Nira finally had their wedding. It was small, just close friends and family. They could not wait anymore. The universe was too dangerous, life too uncertain. Hyun officiated. Daeon cried. They said their vows under the twin moons, and Jiho put a ring on Nira's clawed finger. I promise to come back, Jiho whispered. I promise to be here, Nira whispered back. That night, they held each other in their garden. The plants were growing back stronger than before. Life always found a way. The transport ship arrived in the morning. Taeyang was piloting it. 6 months, Taeyang said. Then you are free. 6 months, Jiho agreed. He kissed Nira goodbye. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. Harder than fighting, harder than killing. Walking away from her, even temporarily, felt like tearing out part of his soul. The transport lifted off. Jiho watched the colony shrink below him. His home, his life. Everything he was trying to protect. At the Earth Fleet Academy, they were waiting for him. 300 tactical officers, all eager to learn from the man who saved New Haven. They looked at him like he was a legend. Jiho stood in front of them, feeling tired and old. I am not a hero, he said. I am not special. I am just someone who knew how to fight when fighting was needed. He paused. And I am going to teach you the same. Not because I want to create soldiers, but because I want to create protectors, people who can keep others safe. He taught them everything. How to assess threats, how to use terrain, how to turn farming equipment into weapons, how to think like the enemy, how to win against superior forces. But more importantly, he taught them why you fight, why you protect, why you become a monster so others do not have to. Never forget what you are protecting, he told them. The moment you fight for fighting's sake, you have lost. You become what you are trying to destroy. The 6 months felt like 6 years. But Jiho kept his promise. He taught them well, then he left. The Admiral tried one more time to make him stay. You could save so many people, Kento said. I have saved enough, Jiho replied. Time to let others do their part. When the transport brought him back to New Haven, Nira was waiting at the landing pad. She ran to him and he caught her, lifting her off the ground despite his aching muscles. Welcome home, she said. Home, Jiho repeated. It was the most beautiful word he knew. They walked back to their house together. The garden had grown wild in his absence, but that was okay. He would tame it again, gently, patiently. That was what he was good at now, not fighting. Growing things, creating life instead of taking it. The legend could rest. The gardener had returned. 6 months had passed since Jiho came home. The nightmares came less often now. Not gone, never gone, but manageable. Nira still held him when they came. But now sometimes he could go back to sleep without the shaking. The colony had rebuilt. New buildings stood where rubble had been. The northern district was different now, with a memorial park where the bombardment had hit. 400 names carved in stone. Jiho visited sometimes, usually alone, usually early when no one else was there. He would read the names and whisper apologies. I am sorry I was not fast enough. I am sorry I could not save you. The stone never answered, but somehow it helped. The news services had finally stopped calling. For 3 months after the battle, they had wanted interviews, documentaries, book deals. Jiho refused everything. He was not a story. He was just a man trying to grow tomatoes and forget how to kill. But the universe had other ideas. A publisher released a book called The Gardener's War without his permission, using survivor interviews and battle reports. It became a bestseller across human space. People who had never held a weapon read about asymmetric warfare and civilian defense tactics. Nira found it amusing. "You are famous," she said, showing him the sales numbers on her tablet. "I am not famous," Jiho said. "Some made-up version of me is famous." He was pruning roses, his hands gentle on the thorny stems. "The real me is here, arguing with aphids." "The aphids are winning," Nira observed. "They always do," Jiho admitted. Hyun stopped by that afternoon. He brought news from the Colonial Council. "They want to name a ship after you. The Explorer-class vessel, New Haven's Pride. They are saying it will patrol the outer colonies, protect places like ours." "No," Jiho said. "I already told them you would say that," Hyun said, smiling. "But they are doing it anyway. The ship launches in 3 months," Jiho sighed. "There were some battles you could not win." "Fine, but I am not going to the ceremony." "They will be disappointed." "They will survive," Jiho said. What bothered him more was the military. Young officers kept showing up, asking for advice, wanting to learn from him. Jiho tried to be patient, but he was tired of talking about war. One young woman, a lieutenant named Soyeon, was particularly persistent. She had read all the reports, studied all his tactics. "How did you do it?" she asked.
"How did you win against such overwhelming odds?"
"I got lucky," Jiho said. "And people died anyway." "But your strategy—" "My strategy was desperation," Jiho interrupted. "I used whatever I could find. I killed people with farm equipment because I had nothing else. There was no genius, just necessity." Soyeon looked disappointed. She had wanted something more, some secret wisdom. But Jiho had none to give. After she left, Nira came out to the garden. She sat beside him on the bench he had built. "You are being hard on them," she said. "They admire you." "They admire a story," Jiho said. "A legend. They do not see the man who cannot sleep, who jumps at loud noises, who sometimes forgets he is not on a battlefield anymore." "Show them that man," Nira said. "Show them the cost." So Jiho started being honest. When officers came to ask questions, he told them about the nightmares, about the guilt, about how every person he had killed stayed with him. He showed them his hands, how they shook sometimes when he remembered. "This is what fighting does," he would say. "Even when you win, you lose something. Never forget that." Some left looking thoughtful. Some looked disturbed. But all of them understood better. Borum and his defense volunteers had become quite skilled. Minho had officially made them the Colonial Guard. They trained twice a week, learning combat and emergency response. Jiho checked on them occasionally, correcting their form, suggesting better tactics. "You are a good teacher," Borum said one day. "I am a reluctant teacher," Jiho replied. "But I am glad you are learning. Why?" Borum asked. "If you hate talking about fighting, why help us?" Jiho was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Because I do not want anyone to go through what I went through. If teaching you keeps you safe, keeps others safe, then it is worth it." The real struggle was with himself. Some days Jiho felt like the gardener again. He would spend hours with his plants, peaceful and content. Nira would work in her study, translating Vakrin poetry. They would have dinner and watch the sunset, and everything felt right. Other days the soldier was too close to the surface. Jiho would find himself assessing defensive positions, planning escape routes, calculating threat vectors. He would look at the colony and see weaknesses, vulnerabilities, places the enemy could exploit. "You need to let it go," Daeun told him during a medical checkup. She was scanning his brain activity, checking for trauma markers. "The war is over, is it?" Jiho asked. "The Crovath are still out there. Other threats too. Peace is just the time between battles." "That is a soldier talking," Daeun said. "Not my brother." "Maybe they are the same person now," Jiho said. Daeun put down her scanner. "No, they are not. My brother wanted children someday. Wanted to teach them about Earth and growing things. That dream is still possible, if you let it be. Children." Jiho and Nira had talked about it before the attack. The medical technology was better now, but human Vakrin children were still difficult, risky. They would need to plan carefully, undergo treatments. That night, Jiho brought it up. "Do you still want children?" Nira looked up from her tablet. "Do you?" "I think so," Jiho said carefully. "If we can. If it is safe, why now?" she asked. Because I want to create something, Jiho said. Something that is not about death or war. I want to build a life, not just defend one. Nira smiled. Then let us try. They started the medical process. It would take time, maybe years. But they had time now. The galaxy was still dangerous, but New Haven was safe. Earth fleet kept watch. The Colonial Guard was trained. Other people were carrying the burden now. Jiho could rest. A year after the battle, they held a memorial service for the 400. The whole colony attended. There were speeches, songs, prayers in different languages. Jiho was asked to speak, but he refused. What could he say? That he was sorry? That he wished he had been better? Instead, he planted 400 trees. One for each person lost. It took him 3 months working every day. Each tree was carefully chosen, placed in the memorial park. Cherry blossoms from Earth, silverleaf from the Vakrin homeworld, and other species from across the colony's diverse population. In 50 years, this will be a forest, he told Nira as they planted the last tree together. People will come here and remember, but they will also see life, growth, hope. That is beautiful, Nira said. It is better than a statue, Jiho said. The news services heard about it and wanted to cover the story. Jiho finally agreed to one interview with conditions. They could film him planting trees, but no questions about tactics or fighting, only about remembering and moving forward. The interview went well. Jiho talked about peace, about the cost of war, about why protecting life mattered more than taking it. He talked about his garden and his hopes for the future. You are called a legend, the interviewer said at the end. The gardener of New Haven who saved a colony. What do you say to that? Jiho looked at the camera. I say that legends are just stories. Real people are more complicated. They have fears and flaws. They make mistakes and carry regrets, he paused. I did what I had to do. Others would have done the same. There is no legend, just a man who wanted to protect his home. After the interview aired, something strange happened. The attention finally started to fade. People saw Jiho not as some perfect hero, but as a real person. Someone who had suffered and survived. Someone trying to heal. It was exactly what he wanted. 2 years after the battle, Nira became pregnant. The medical treatments had worked. It was risky, and she would need constant monitoring, but it was possible. They were going to have a child. Jiho felt terror and joy in equal measure. A child meant responsibility, meant teaching and protecting, but it also meant hope. Meant believing in a future worth building. What will we teach them? Nira asked, her hand on her stomach. Everything, Jiho said. About Earth and the Vakrin homeworld. About growing things and creating beauty. About being kind and strong. And about fighting? Nira asked. Jiho thought about that. I will teach them to defend what they love. But more importantly, I will teach them what is worth defending. He kissed her forehead. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is choosing not to fight even when you could. That is what I want them to understand. The colony thrived. New families arrived. New businesses opened. The scars of war faded, though they never fully disappeared. That was okay. Scars were reminders. They taught you to be careful, to be strong, to be grateful for what you had. Jiho still trained the Colonial Guard, but less often now. Other instructors had taken over, people who had studied his methods. He was proud of them. They would keep New Haven safe. Most days he was just Jiho the gardener again. He worked his land, sold vegetables at market, helped neighbors with their plants, the simple life he had always wanted. On quiet evenings, he and Nira would sit in their garden and watch the twin moons rise. Sometimes they talked about the future, about their child, about their dreams. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. Are you happy? Nira asked one night. Jiho considered the question. He thought about the nightmares that still came sometimes, about the guilt he still carried, about the people he could not save. But he also thought about,